There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants.
We say people that say, well, they earned it. Now you go out and you're earned it.
If they earned it, then I think that that's good. I think that they deserve it. But even if you earned it, you still owe. Because look at me, I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I got to give them some mail. And if I know I got $3,000 in my pocket, I feel like it's wrong to give that person a quarter or a dollar. It's wrong. Only you know what you got in your pocket. And that's wrong. No matter what they do, if they take it and drink it, they take it and drink it. But I mean, you understand? And we all know how hard it is. And it's not about if you good or you bad. So since it's not about if you good or you bad, we know that because he don't got, don't mean he was bad. Or don't mean he's a criminal, or don't mean he's crazy, or a drug addict, or none of that. It just means he don't got. And ain't it bad that you got 30? I mean, can you imagine somebody having $32 million? $32 million. And this person has nothing, and you can sleep. You can still go to the movies I mean, and then these are the type of people that get humanitarian awards. Millionaires.
Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. We are back once again. Hello, my family. This is going to be a great show. I apologize for the delay. We was filming an episode of Bad Faith with Brianna Joy Gray, which is going to be fire. Which is going to be fire, by the way. That should come out Thursday. So that's why we started a little bit late today. And you guys see that clip. Love my boy Tupac. I love Tupac. My mom used to have him in the background all the time. And now that is the class analysis, because Tupac was a communist, right? Learned from the great Afeni Shakur. And now we went from having people like Tupac, right? Having people say fuck the police and having at least a message-driven platform. Brenda has a baby. Now we have Jay-Z that essentially trying to say that people that call him capitalist, they say people that call Jay-Z a capitalist, that's just another way of calling me an N-word. We went from that to Jay-Z. How sad we have fallen. We went from hardcore revolutionaries, Black Panthers, Fred Hampton, that disavowed politicians. We went from that to now we got P. Diddy and rappers doing vote or die campaigns for Jim Crow Joe. For Jim Crow Joe, one of the most anti-Black, racist politicians in the modern era. And I had this tweet that I put out today. And I always put these out. I'm like, man, I wonder when whenever my tweet's gonna piss people off. Because here's a tweet I said earlier. Because I'm gonna do a call-in today, and I swear to God, I want some debate. I was on a Twitter space debating shit libs about why we should talk to people, and it was fun. I dominated them for like 2 hours. So I'm gonna do a call-in because people pissed. I just so many liberals see. Then you guys see 64 quote tweets about this. I think this is fact. If you vote for Jim Crow Joe, you're in no position to call anyone a right-winger. Y'all voted for the most anti-Black, anti-worker politician in my lifetime. Every vote for Jim Crow Joe was a vote for white supremacy. Don't listen to these people that try to minimize the power of you voting for these criminals. When you vote for these people, you give them a mandate. And once you give them a mandate, they say, oh, well, you guys can't really complain that we fund the police more because we said we were going to do that. You guys can't complain that we are funding Israel more because we said we were going to do that. So no. On RBN, we changing the left discourse. It's not none of this, oh, maybe you can vote Democrat and you can be an ally. We are drawing a line in the sand for the very first time in independent media and making people uncomfortable. But we say we are not accepting you guys voting for Jim Crow Joe, especially as he increased the military budget, as he tried to escalate World War III with Taiwan. I mean, with China over Taiwan. We're going to cover that here soon. We're going to talk about his 60-minute interview, which is insane. Everything they said Donald Trump was is Joe Biden. They put my banner up. Thank you for the super chat, Susan. Thank you for always speaking the truth, even when the haters say it's I'm blessed to be in a position where I have a platform. And now like I was big against debate me bro shit, but now it's like I want people to defend their takes. The left is so weak. The left have been misled by the boutique leftist capitalists, imperialists, and they are giving people bad advice. And there are a lot of smear merchants who pretend that RBN is helping the right because we criticize the Democratic Party. There are people who are upset because we criticize AOC and Bernie. It's because you guys have led working class people off a cliff. You guys have sold black people out to white supremacy. So the only thing I can do is, in order to prevent RBN from becoming an echo chamber, is I need to convince these people that you guys are actually hurting the working class movement by voting for Jim Crow Joe, who is just like Trump. Donald Trump was an average politician. Joe Biden is what he did everything Trump did and ramped it up to a more efficient degree. The point, the people who think they are fighting white supremacy, Joe Biden deported more people than Donald Trump. Oh yeah, let me address this. CJ, we was about to do a Nick and CJ, but we had to reschedule because we did Bad Faith podcast. That's gonna drop on Thursday. So CJ can't make it at this time. I had my call in at 8 p.m. So I wanted to drop in for at least an hour to talk about this story, right? Thank you for the $2, Jason. I'm gonna definitely read all the super chat, so I appreciate the solidarity. And please like and share the stream. And also join the post show. My call is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And the liberals is melting down because I called Joe Biden a white supremacist. And I'm just daring people to justify your beliefs to my face. I just justify it. People never do. I was jumping in Twitter spaces and it was fun watching people that are not able to defend their positions. So, I think we got all the chat. So let's get to the stories because we're going to cover Joe Biden's insane 60-minute interview. And the way that I hear like progressives, here it is. The way I hear progressives talk about Jim Crow Joe is completely different than how I view him. I view him as literally just another extension of Donald Trump. Because if Donald Trump gave this 60-minute interview, you guys will be saying, oh my God, this is crazy. This is unhinged. Donald Trump trying to start World War III. That is what Joe Biden is doing. He's trying to gaslight the American people and trying to convince them that their pain is not happening, is not real. He's still going all in on this Ukraine proxy war. So while people are starving, his response is to fund war. Guys, stop listening to the progressives. This is unhinged behavior that we must defeat. So I'm going to get into the stories here. This is the first receipt. So this is Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. And I think they have been successful, unfortunately. They have trained the American people to have culture of low expectations. Because when I call Joe Biden out for his record, when I explain to people how Joe Biden is inflicting pain on my community and on workers and on the global working class, the response I get from shit libs is, well, at least he's not Donald Trump. So for one, I would argue that. Secondly, it literally does not matter if we have another evil on the other side where both sides are committing the same evil. Both sides have detention centers with kids in cages. Joe Biden is funding DHS and ICE more than Donald Trump. The border industrial complex has exploded under Donald Trump under Joe Biden compared to Donald Trump. Israel is getting more money. The risk of nuclear war has increased since Joe Biden has taken office. And I am telling you guys that it will be the same thing as Donald Trump. But that is my point. I am not arguing that any one of these people are worse or better than the other. I am telling you guys, if you vote for Jim Crow Joe Biden, that is literally to me the same thing as voting for Donald Trump. And I'm going to make that argument consistently as I do now, and I made it in my space, and I'm going to make a call in later tonight. I really, really hope the liberals who was defending Joe Biden, had no idea of his record, will have the balls to call in today. It'll be great. So let's show you guys this Trumpian tactic that Biden did. Can you guys remember the Trump administration? During the Trump years, Trump was like, oh my God, things are so great. The economy is booming. And the liberals like, oh my God, Trump is a liar. Look, he's a liar like we never seen before. Americans are hurting. And despite the fact that Americans are hurting, Donald Trump is trying to sell you guys on something. I remember this argument that Donald Trump was somehow a unique liar. That he's somehow a bigger liar than Joe Biden. The guy who said he was arrested protesting in South Africa with Nelson Mandela. The guy who said he was arrested protesting with MLK and the civil rights movement, even though he was part of the segregation movement with Strom Thurmond. He's a better liar than Trump. Everything that Trump is, Joe Biden escalated that to the next level. Do you guys understand that? So let's go to this video of him doing the same thing Donald Trump did as American people was hurting. Now that Joe Biden's doing it, Bernie Sanders and AOC clapping along with them. Like pathetic little sellouts. Let's get into the let's get to the video. Jim Crow Joe continues to fail the working people, and the message of Democrats heading into 2022 is not, oh, we have a plan, we're gonna help you. It's that pain you feeling doesn't exist. You're just making it up. So let me show you guys the reality. This was shared by my good friend Gritty on Twitter. This is over the last year. Groceries up 13.5%. Average rent up 6.7%. Electricity up 15.8%. Gas up 16.25%. Health insurance 24% increase. Meanwhile, Joe Biden said he'll veto Medicare for all. Now, I'm not going to be one of the people that don't understand how government works. There's obviously a lot of mechanisms that lead to these price increases that the president may not be able to necessarily control. But if you are a working class president, you would do stuff like give people health care. You would, instead of giving corporate bailouts and siding with union busters like Amazon and giving them federal contracts, you would side with the workers. You would do everything you can to fight back against the corporate greed. But he's not. He's rewarding the same people that is price gouging people in the middle of the pandemic and the economic depression. While people are starving right now, he is funding the Ukraine war more, $70 billion to Ukraine, sending more weapons to Ukraine, while we have no water for Black people in Jackson, Mississippi. So this is a decision by the Biden administration, and this is the message that he was saying throughout the entire 60-minute interview that makes him sound no different than Donald Trump was to me, where people have pain, he's like, not real. So I want to play this other quick part of his interview. This is a very quick clip because I don't want to show the entire interview. I want to explain a few points. And I found this segment on CNN about the Ukraine war, which I find very interesting because it also speaks to a few segments I have seen before and how they cover Russia, where they contradict themselves and they don't even realize it. They will say stuff like, Putin is a dictator. And then they also will say stuff like, people in the Russian leadership that want to oust Putin. Which is it? Then they will say stuff like, Russian media, they're now questioning Putin. Which is it? I thought that Russian TV, they wasn't allowed to question Putin. Let me show you this clip, because I'll also show you guys how the corporate media is covering these things. Let me show this. I got a few more short clips on the 60-minute interview, because this was a shit show, and I don't know how anyone could defend it. So let's go to this.
With a stern warning for Russia's Vladimir Putin this weekend in case he's even thinking of using chemical or nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The president spoke to 60 Minutes, which airs this weekend. Here's a clip. Biden's strong message there comes as the war in Ukraine is seemingly at a turning point. A Ukrainian counteroffensive has forced Russian troops back and liberated large swaths of the country that Russia invaded and occupied 6 months ago. But the recovery of territory is leading to some disturbing discoveries, like this mass burial site in the city of Izium. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says some of the bodies they found there show signs of torture. All of that coming as Vladimir Putin faces growing dissent inside of his own country, and the Russian military suffers mounting problems on the battlefield. CNN's Matthew Chance has a look at that.
So what's funny about that clip is the CNN reporter, when he's questioning Joe Biden, like, I heard there's questions about Putin using the nuke. If Putin was to do that, tell me what would you do? What would your response be? And then Biden's like, well, I'm not going to tell you. He's like, please tell me. What would your response be? Please tell me. Please tell me you want to go to war. We want war. For one, and let's make something clear. The only country that ever used a nuclear weapon was the United States of America. Are we clear? There's been one country that has used the nuclear weapons. There's been one country that is forming allyship with NATO, with the UK, that is pushing the idea of Western domination, and they want to wage war in order to accomplish that. They're willing to inflict economic pain on countless people to accomplish that. This war was escalated because NATO kept encroaching on Ukraine's border. Now they're putting more countries into NATO. They're continuing. Now Zelensky is talking about quote unquote liberating Crimea. We're gonna get to that later. I'm gonna show you guys this clip from Joe Biden where he is now saying that he's willing to go to war with China over Taiwan. So the country that is escalating the cost of nuclear war, the chance of nuclear war, is the United States in the West. They keep crossing red lines that they explain. Many generals, including you had politicians like Joe Biden, that was saying stuff like, well, if we have NATO encroachment close to the Russian border, that will be the one thing that will escalate war with Russia. They all knew this, and they purposely did it because U.S. foreign policy is essentially, I dare you to do something. Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, and the United States response essentially was to them violating their agreement, their one China policy. Their response to that essentially was, hey, China, I dare you to do something. But they're painting Putin as the nuclear threat. It's been the West that has been escalating conflict over and over again. But the corporate media is here to convince you that Russia and China are the people who escalate nuclear conflict. Well, once again, I cannot stress this enough. Only one country has ever dropped a nuclear bomb, and that has been the United States of America. If there's any country that needed denuclearized, it's the United States of America. So I'm going to show you Biden doing something that is more unhinged than anything that Donald Trump has done. He, on national TV, he essentially telling China that one China policy that is keeping peace between our countries, that's keeping the global working class stable, I don't care about it no more. For you shit lives in the back, U.S. recognizing Taiwan as a part of China has been official U.S. policy for decades. NATO, you NATO stands. Vosh, I know you guys love NATO. NATO officially recognizes Taiwan as a part of China. Do you guys understand that? And if you support Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, that would be the same as someone supporting fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene inviting Putin to a Texas secession movement event. It's an insane escalatory response that is meant to provoke war. Because U.S. hegemony is dying, baby. And they said we're going out with a bang. Either we had U.S. unipolar dominance of the globe, or we're going to tank everyone. And this is why this is the most important issue. And the fact that people are just progressive that is, or just swatting this aside, is unbelievable to me. So let's watch the video. Where you guys can see Joe Biden being absolutely unhinged with China. Here it is. So my question for all the people who are pretending that Joe Biden is somehow different than Trump, how is this different than what Donald Trump did? Where Donald Trump was so crazy and off the cuff, he was just saying shit that wasn't U.S. policy, and people was like, holy shit, bro, this dude Donald Trump is unhinged. He's going to get us in World War III. That is what people who support the lesser of two evils, that is what they truly believe. We have to vote for this racist, unhinged moron, Joe Biden, because Donald Trump is so crazy, he's going to destroy the human race. Meanwhile, this is Joe Biden just vibing on 60 Minutes, talking about fucking starting nuclear conflict. Talking about escalating World War III. Guys, a war with China would destroy the global working class. Do you guys think shit is bad with Ukraine? You guys think it's bad with Ukraine? Matt, do you guys understand the famine, the destruction of the working class that would happen if U.S.-China trade ended? If the Western hegemony in China waged war, it will be World War III and a global destruction we have never seen before. And China knows this. China, this entire time, the United States has been escalating with them, has been like, guys, have you guys seen how fucking crazy the United States is?
President Biden may be over.
China's the whole time Nancy Pelosi was going to Taiwan, they announced that Nancy Pelosi was going to Taiwan, and China's response was like, bro, what are you guys doing? Please don't do this. Please don't do this. And then Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan, and then people was like, the United States, did we show China? Look at China. We called their bluff. China, they're some pussies, aren't they? And China's like, we were trying to save the fucking world from you guys being insane. Yes, the United States called China bluff the same way NATO called the bluff of Russia, because Russia said that nuclear weapons was on the table if Sweden and Finland joined NATO. Sweden and Finland joined NATO, and then Russia was like, oh, never mind, not that big of a deal. I covered that. So over and over again, Russia and China constantly had to de-escalate from this insane empire. How is this not clear to people? U.S. and the United States president throw out China one policy. We'll escalate war with them. And then China had to scale back. Like, fuck, man. There go our sovereignty. The United States is constantly questioning our sovereignty, and China has to take it because they have to be the adults in the room. So this is the response to China. And China is like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Bro, we were chilling here building shit. We were just building shit in Africa, building shit in the global south. We uplifting people out of poverty, and you motherfuckers can't stop messing with us. So here's China's response. China lodges complaints after Biden says U.S. will defend Taiwan and Chinese invasion. China's like, what can we do? This shit's gonna happen, bro. This shit's gonna happen. So we might as well get out of the way. Because like, no matter how much China and Russia concede their sovereignty, which they have done multiple times, the United States keeps pushing. When Russia decided not to respond to Finland and Sweden join NATO, that was them sacrificing their sovereignty. Do you guys understand? They are sacrificing their sovereignty in order to keep war, peace, and stability. Meanwhile, it's the United States that keeps pushing. And progressives are not the lesser of two evils. But Bernie Sanders and AOC are not the best among us, because Bernie and AOC voted for Taiwan arms deals this year. There are people who wonder, hey, Nick, why are you so mean to AOC? Why are you so mean to Bernie Sanders? They are selling us out. Bernie Sanders and AOC is voting for arms deals to Ukraine. They are voting to destroy the global working class. Meanwhile, people were like, hey, yo, Bernie Sanders 2024. If Bernie was president, he'd be doing the same thing. Guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. Do you have any idea how crazy U.S. policy is right now, which is being championed and spearheaded and supported by Bernie Sanders and the squad? Imagine voting for something that massive, Taiwan weapon deal, the expansion of NATO, and then you don't even give us an explanation? Guys, Rand Paul voted against Ukraine aid. He did press conferences. He was like, yeah, this is why I voted against NATO expansion. This is why I voted against Ukraine war. Lindsey Graham, he voted for it. He's like, I disagree with my colleague, Rand Paul. The Republicans was explaining their vote and report, their support or their non-support of the Ukraine aid. You had Marty Taylor Greene, Max Gaetz. They was like, yo, this is why we don't support this shit. Meanwhile, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and the squad, they are voting for stuff that is insanely consequential to the human race. Meanwhile, they're not even giving a fucking statement about it. We can't even get a tweet from AOC about why she voted for Ukraine aid, why she voted to expand NATO, why she voted to ship weapons to Taiwan. They won't even give us an explanation. But people want to say, these people are the best among us. And I had a conversation with Bree. That conversation with on Bad Faith Podcast is going to drop on Thursday, where she posed a hypothetical. If we had AOC, John Fetterman, all the progressives on ticket, we vote for them? And I said, hell no. But they are literally stealing money from the working class and sending it to Nazis in Ukraine. They are literally voting to send weapons to Taiwan and escalating a war that will destroy the global working class. And you guys are asking if I'm going to vote for these psychopaths? These psychopaths that took money from the working class that should have went to the mutual aid? They stealing money from the working class and then betrayed us. And the question is, do we vote for them? Hell no. They can meet where we at. I would love to do a segment where I'm like, oh my God, you guys see Bernie Sanders' speech where he ripped apart U.S. policy on Ukraine? Damn, I had a lot of criticism of Bernie Sanders, but man, he really delivered. Damn, he really delivered. Oh shit, hold up. Damn, that's gonna be fire. I want to do that on my channel. Pasta versus Jackson Hinkle. Jeez, on Jimmy Dore. That's gonna be fire. So I gotta make sure. Damn, that's gonna be fire. But anyway, because I was talking to Pasta, I was gonna bring him on the show. Because we had our debate with Jackson. Man, but that's exciting. I just saw that. That's exciting. Let me get back to the story. I'm going to get back to where I was because I'm obviously just ranting and raving about my position. Thank you for the super chat, JM, for $2. I agree with you 100%. Thank you, my fans, my fam, my friends. And I can't wait to do my call-in tonight. I'm fucking sad, man. Damn, I'm sad. And it wasn't, to be fair, I see some people in the comments. You guys will see when the episode dropped. Bree was not defending the squad. It was just a question they asked us because Bree's good at just probing our mind, right? I'm doing a discussion on Callin tonight. Hopefully it's not the same time as that debate because I want these progressives who still believe the Democrat Party you can reform it. I want them to come on my show and explain. But I don't want to derail the segment too much. Damn. Let me go back to the segment I was doing. Joe Biden insane 60-minute interview. I didn't have the banner the whole time. Joe Biden's insane 60-minute interview. So let's get to the next part. So the theme of this live I'm doing right now and what I am going to talk about on my call-in, if you vote for Joe Biden, congratulations, you voted for Donald Trump. And I want to debate anyone on that. If you voted for Joe Biden and you think you got anyone other than a more competent, polite version of Donald Trump, let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about how they handled the pandemic. And no matter how you guys feel about the COVID culture war, there's one thing we can all agree. Whether you don't believe we should have body autonomy or not, I'm a supporter of body autonomy, right? I'm a supporter of a common sense policy, like having universal health care, for one. That would have saved the lives of 300,000 plus people in this pandemic. So, excuse me. No matter how you feel about the COVID culture war, it is undeniable that Joe Biden approached it the same way Donald Trump would, and his mandate of getting the pandemic under control, he failed because more people died under this pandemic from Joe Biden in his first year than Donald Trump. A lot of people don't know that. And that's despite the fact that Joe Biden had the vaccine. How can you fuck up that bad? You have the vaccine, and more people still die under you than Donald Trump. And that's just a month by month, year by year comparison. So let's go into this part of the 60-minute interview where Joe Biden once again did the same thing that Donald Trump did, where he has an election coming up. So just like Donald Trump, he had an election coming up. So it's upon him to deny the effects of the pandemic. And a lot of people said, oh my God, we got to vote for the fascist Jim Crow Joe. Even though Jim Crow Joe is evil, even though he's going to fund the police more, even though he's going to support the class war against the workers, we must vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump is denying the effects of the pandemic and he can't get the pandemic under control. Meanwhile, under the 60-minute interview, Joe Biden is doing the exact same thing as Donald Trump. So let's watch the video and I'll add more commentary to that. And I feel like it does not matter where you fall in the COVID culture war. You have to admit Joe Biden failed. Period. Whether you love the vaccines or whether you hate the vaccines, Joe Biden has failed. I feel like that's COVID culture war neutral. So let me play the clip.
Overseas, but he is making major news tonight here at home on the.
You say that it's much too early to make that decision. I take it the decision has not been made in your own head.
Look, my intention, as I said to begin with, is that I would run again, but it's just an intention. But is it a firm decision that I run again? That remains to be seen.
And the corporate media melted down for Donald Trump doing the same thing. Donald Trump doing the same thing where he just says the pandemic is over because an election is coming up. They melted down for that. Joe Biden's doing the same thing. Now there's crickets. And now Joe Biden's completely failed us because his failure to implement healthcare in the middle of this pandemic. And the position of RBN was always to blame the ruling class and our capitalist system for the failures of handling COVID-19. So I did not like people attacking workers. And that is what the establishment did. The establishment was like, I want you guys to hate the unvaccinated. Hate the unvaccinated. Surely it's not our fault that we don't have health care. Surely it's not our fault that we don't pay people to stay home. Surely it's not our fault that we have a system that is literally unable to manage a pandemic because we have a profit motive system that will do stuff like, cut out hospital beds for profits. So now we had less hospital beds because you guys cut down hospital beds. You guys are like, let's put mandates on the workers because capitalism's failed. My argument was we need to take care of the workers first. Pay them to stay home. Do not force them to take this vaccine. If you do, you better pay them. You got Big Pharma making all this goddamn profit. You got Big Pharma making $1,000 per second. But y'all can't pay people to stay home. You can't pay people to take the vaccine if you want them to, instead of mandating them to do it. Like, these are common sense things. And there are a lot of reasons why the establishment has failed us. And Joe Biden in his interview showed that he's just like Trump. And ever since the beginning of this pandemic, they were just like Trump. There's been no difference between Joe Biden's COVID policies and Donald Trump's. Not at all. A lot of people like to pretend, though. And in this interview, he's doing it again. In the interviews, same thing Donald Trump just did. But liberals are more upset at anti-vaxxers instead of this guy. There are COVID alarmists that tweet about COVID every single day. Like these people, and that's fine. If you're afraid of COVID, you are allowed to do that. They are the biggest COVID alarmists. These are the people that hate any people who question the narrative from the government on COVID. Meanwhile, they spend all their time attacking those people, and they will vote for Joe Biden. They're going to vote for this guy who did the same thing Donald Trump did, but they want to focus on the worker. You guys see the difference between how RBN covered this and everyone else? I'm not going to shame people who may disagree with me on how to handle this pandemic, like whether you want to get vaccinated or not. I believe in body autonomy, right? I'd rather focus on the powerful. And Joe Biden has failed in managing this pandemic and the economic crisis, and that is just a fact. And there are going to be a lot of COVID alarmists. There are going to be a lot of people that pretend that Republicans are the worst thing ever just because of their COVID policies, but they're going to ignore Joe Biden essentially saying the pandemic is over. And these COVID alarmists, they swear to this day this pandemic is killing a ton of people, which they may be telling the truth. They may be telling the truth. But if you are one of the people, where's your energy for Joe Biden? So this is why I said this 60-minute interview was a disaster for Joe Biden and the White House. Just like Donald Trump, anytime Joe Biden make a media appearance where there is any slightly hard questions asked his way, the White House always got to walk it back. Once again, the theme of this live stream is explain to you guys how Joe Biden is just like Donald Trump. In his comments on the COVID-19 pandemic, which we just covered, his comments on Taiwan, just like Donald Trump, because he was a fucking moron, the White House had to come after him and clean up his mess. Because I can pull up speeches of Putin speaking. How many times do Russia go, oh my God, sorry, Putin misspoke here. I don't know if you guys ever heard Erdogan from Turkey. I disagree with that guy. He obviously harsh authoritarian. But if you ever hear him speak against U.S. imperialism, extremely eloquent. If you hear all these other leaders like Putin, if you hear Lula da Silva in Brazil speak, very intelligent person, right? Whether you agree with him on issues or not. Meanwhile, Joe Biden and our politicians can't talk for 1 second without having to backtrack because, oops, accidentally escalated World War III. My bad. This is CBS. Biden tells 60 Minutes U.S. troops would defend Taiwan, but White House says this is not official U.S. policy. So there it is. Joe Biden is just like Donald Trump. Let's see. Did I have? Yeah, I got another segment I want to do. Did I miss any super chats? I'm here on my own, so hopefully I haven't. Let me do a. I'll wrap that segment up there. I think 40 minutes is good. We talked about this segment on 60 Minutes, so I'm just checking, make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I'm gonna do the next segment. Now we're gonna do a little bit quicker segments here. I think I'm good. So let's make sure you guys like, share the stream. Savvy's gonna be live at 6 as well, 6 Central. So make sure you check that out. And also, I have the link to my Callin show. I really want to hear from you guys, and it should be interesting because I am posting it all over Twitter because I want these people who support reforming the Democrat Party to explain their ideology to my face, and it's not going to go well for them. I promise you it won't. So we see a lot of people like to talk a big game online, but then whenever I drop that Callin link, they're quiet. Let's talk about I want to discuss. I'm trying to think. Maybe I should say this Ukraine story. All right, I'll just make this a short story. Someone said they'd be on fire when he's alone. You guys already know I have a problem where I interrupt people too much. I acknowledge that. So when I do my solo streams, that's what I'm more used to. So now I can just rant and rave without having to worry about interrupting my guests, interrupting my comrades. Yeah, I'm self-aware. So let's just do a quick Ukraine segment. Whoa. So I cannot emphasize enough the psychopathic behavior of the Biden administration. He's everything that we said Trump was going to be. They are giving away our money. I'm a Marxist. I got a different ideology than a lot of you people. Where you guys think the ruling class owns this shit. They don't own shit. They use authoritarianism. They use authority to convince you that they own this shit. They carve up the land and then they exploit labor. I don't agree with that shit. So when they send billions of dollars to Ukraine, they are taking our value and sending it to Nazis while we don't have water. You have progressives who agree with Joe Biden and escalating the conflict with Russia by expanding NATO, and they have no idea how bad things are going to get. I want to share this tweet from Caitlin. Because I saw this. This is crazy. This is the energy payment that people are getting in the UK because the reckless behavior of Joe Biden, the UK, and the West. So shit is about to hit the fan, guys, and I have no idea how this is going to end. You saw that story where they're pretending things are bad for Russia. Guys, Russia lost no men. The casualties for Ukraine was way higher during this Ukraine offensive than Russia. They only lost like 6% of the land they gained. Russia can sit back, watch this energy crisis that's about to happen, and watch the West revolt. So you have the West increasing the police state because they know shit's going to get bad. The West has no leverage right now, despite the fact that they're pretending they're winning. Because if anything, Russia can just sit this out. Russia can just wait until these motherfuckers starve. Because look at this. They was paying, what is British currency? Is it pound? I don't fucking know. 52 bucks in British currency. Now they say your future payments will be 1,240. Guys, people are going to be in the streets. You guys see this? So this is the response by Caitlin Johnstone, friend of the show. If you're wondering why we're seeing more war propaganda than at any point since World War II, it's because it's going to take a tremendous amount of psychological manipulation to get people to accept things like this. That's why they have to pretend that Ukraine is winning this war now. The Ukrainian offensive was a W for Ukraine and an L for Russia. But Ukraine exhausted a ton of resources doing that because they had to deliver a victory because people were starting to ask questions because they see these bills. They was asking, we're sending all these weapons to Ukraine. Where are the victories? That is where the Ukraine offensive led to. And now more people are going to hit the streets. So they have to pretend Ukraine is winning because that's the only way they can justify continuing this insane conflict that is going to destroy the global working class. Let's show you guys this tweet from Ben Norton, who does great coverage on Ukraine. Everything the EU is doing in the proxy war on Russia is hurting workers. EU sanctions made energy prices skyrocket for homes and small businesses. Now the EU is flooding its market with cheap Ukrainian grain and poultry, which could bankrupt local farmers. So this is the part I just read the part that he highlighted. To support Ukraine, the European Union removes tariffs and quotas to allow exports via the bloc instead. Now farmers in Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and France are protesting what they see as a flood of cheaper Ukrainian grain and poultry that pushes down local prices and compete for spaces at local ports. The societal breakdown that's going to happen because the West decided to wage this economic war for U.S. hegemonic domination, we are only putting the pieces together now. It just now starting. So if you're one of the people who believes that Russia is on the verge of losing, that is not about to happen. That is not about to happen. Because I'm going to show you this retweet by Sarah, who does great anti-imperialist reporting. These are the protests in the streets of Paris on September 17th against Macron, NATO, and sanctions on Russia. And it's just started. Guys, wait till December hits. How many of these Ukrainian offensives do you think the Ukrainian forces can muster up when you have already Germany tapping out? You already have UK tapping up. They can't send any more weapons because they're not the militaristic state that we are. So the United States is essentially, and the United States and NATO alone are funding this war. NATO is launching a war against Russia in Ukraine that is manned by Ukrainian troops. How long do you guys think they can keep this up? While Russia, this is not even a full-scale war. So what they're not telling you when the mainstream media tells you that Putin is getting pushed back in Russia, that is true. But there are a lot of neocons in Russia who are saying, yo, we need to escalate to full war right now. That is the pushback. Because Russia is still playing around. They're still playing games. If they really wanted to wipe Ukraine off the map, they would have did it. If they wanted to shut off energy and destroy the global working class in Europe, they could have done it. I covered this last week, where you had a lot of EU officials saying Putin is waging, they're threatening to shut off German gas. Putin is threatening to turn off German gas. Like, motherfucker, I would have been turned that shit off. If I was a Putin, I would have been turned that shit off. They were showing restraint. But the NATO and EU, they're like, we're gonna call their bluff. I'm sure Putin, I'm sure that we can win this economic war. I'm sure the people will be with us. I don't think they will be. I think this is a giant miscalculation. So this is how cocky they are being. And I'm going to show you guys that Zelensky is a warmonger. Now, because of this propaganda they waging, pretending that Ukraine about to win now, they're now saying, oh, we're gonna go to Crimea now. So this is him speaking, and I'm going to read this tweet. Zelensky threatens to come for the children of Crimea. Remember, not a single person died during the transfer of historically Russian Crimea to Russia, and there was no protest about it. In 2014, Sevastopol and the wider Crimea unilaterally voted in favor, and that is what everyone ignored. These people that claim they support democracy, they ignore the fact that Crimea voted for the Russian annexation. Now, Zelensky, escalating more conflict, is saying, oh, hey, Putin, we're coming after you, motherfucker. We're coming after you. Does this look like a person who wants peace? Does it? All right, so we almost had an hour. I got one more story, actually, I want to do. Because I'm alone, I'm going to keep these solo ones to about maybe an hour to 90 minutes. I got one more segment. You guys are cracking me up in the comments. I love the comments. Unfortunately, there's too many. I can't read them all. If anyone want to chime in, Super Chats is a great way to support the show. But you also can support the Patreon if you guys are enjoying. Please support the Patreon, the link below. It help us grow our channel and engage in a lot more mutual aid activity. So, by the way, Rome is going to Jackson, Mississippi. I love that brother, man. I fucking love Rome. Rome is going to Jackson, Mississippi. So, goddamn, I gotta find a link. So you guys donate to his shit. Tour for the poor. Fuck, I didn't have it ready. But I need you guys to support Rome, man. I'm gonna put the link to JB fundraiser in the description. Hold on, let me make a banner. I just gotta do house cleaning, guys. Mutual aid forever. Okay, let me type that in. Mutual aid forever. Let me add that banner. And CJ can take over. I may still be here. I got one more story I want to do. But I can hand it off to CJ. That'd be fire. So here it is. CJ, is that correct? CJ's in the back. Mutual aid forever. I'm gonna show you guys this story that is it relates exactly to what my brother JB is going through right now. Fuck, where is it? Where is it? I literally have it saved. Because JB, our brother, is being priced out by these shady landlords and real estate developers that are raising rents. But in the story I'm gonna see if I can find it. Rising rents. Fuck, where is it? So there's a story that explains that what JB going through. Because JB, there are a lot of disabled people. Our brother JB disabled. He's not a member of the working class, right? So he is on limited income, but rents are rising without disability benefits increasing. So there are a ton of disabled people like JB that are going homeless. My brother guys, unfortunately, we do not make a lot of money on the channel. Like, we got 20,000 subscribers, we're doing great, but we divide the very small amount of money we make here. So we got to do this fundraiser to help take care of my brother JB. It breaks my heart what he's going through right now, because a lot of people are going through the same. A lot of these disabled people who can't work, they're on limited incomes, they're being forced out and being forced to go homeless. And JB's going through that. So if you guys have anything, please help out JB. Also help out anyone else in your community that's going through this, because it's very sad. We need to take care of each other. We need to deny and reject this individualism that our country puts on us. It's not your fault if you go homeless. It's not your fault if you're in poverty. The system failed you. We need to create a movement that is outside and independent of this capitalist structure. We are far from that, but let's start. Let's start helping each other out. Let's start offering a room to people who've gone homeless. Let's start helping people pay their bills if you have extra. That's my plea. So thank you, CJ, for putting that up. Mutual aid forever. I want to plug it before I get to my last segment. And CJ, I know you're gonna take over in 5 minutes. You can just join anytime you're ready. Yeah, it's crazy, guys. Look at this. I am disabled myself, under 10K a year in New York. And I'm not gonna speak for JB, but JB told me the stories. He's playing it all the time in this show. When you're disabled, you get this benefits. You can only make a certain amount of money. Let me see if I can find a story, guys. It's so crazy. Let's see, disability. I want to see if I can find it, because that's actually pretty important to talk about. Disability, poverty, income limit. If I can't find a story, I'll just move on. I'm gonna see if I can find a receipt for you guys, because it's actually so crazy. They say, oh, if you're disabled, we're gonna take care of you, but you must live in poverty. You must live in poverty. What kind of psychopathic society this is? So then inflation hits, rents increase, and then these people go homeless, and they're like, oh, you should have pulled yourself by your bootstraps, you disabled person. Sorry, I gotta do this. I guess I'll do this next segment. But please, if you have it, help JB out, and help everyone else. Help anyone else that you guys can too. So let's. This is my last segment, and now I'll pass it to CJ, because I'm sure he got a lot to talk about as well. This one should be fun. Let me get ready. I'm alone, so let me get ready here. Here it is. So it shouldn't be too long. So I've been railing against the capitalists for their unhinged ideology regarding student debt. So I'm asking you guys this question. I'm asking all capitalists this question. How is it a smart central planning ideology to put your most reliable spending base into debt? So the most reliable spending base that you have as a society is the professional managerial class. You have these people who become doctors, lawyers, nurses. They become they get these degrees and they get these jobs that are supposed to increase upward mobility, but at the same time, we're gonna put them in mountains full of debt so they can't be productive spinners. That does not make sense. If you're gonna run a society, you need to fund education programs so people can get jobs, increase upward mobility, and that will spread the wealth and uplift businesses and small businesses. Communities will start to flourish. But what we have instead is a system that tricked us, told us if we go to school, we can increase our quality of life. Meanwhile, a ton of people are in debt. Now you got boomers who complain like, why are millennials, why are they not having kids? Why am I not having kids? Why are we not buying houses? I long since gave up the idea that I am ever gonna own a house. And everyone else in my generation has the same ideology. And guys, do you guys think that is good for the economy? An entire generation that can't be homeowners? Think. It's not. It only serves to enrich who? The people who have capital, real estate developers, and landlords. This is the system of capitalism. Socialism is not when the government does stuff. It's about a central developing model. Under the capitalist model, they don't care about the quality of life. They don't care about uplifting society. They care about making money for capital. So we put people in debt, not because it's a good idea for society, it's because it makes money for people who hold capital. So if we had a communist society, we will own the means of production, which means we would pay for education for people because we would know that's the best form of running a society. Meanwhile, under the capitalist model, we put people in debt, not because it benefits society. We do it because it benefits the capitalist class. Do you guys see the difference? So here, you have capitalists who often say the quiet part out loud all the time. So the reason why they decide to put people in debt is if you make college free, you have way less people you can recruit to fight your wars. That is very simple, basic anti-imperialist theory. The reason why the United States do not provide education for people because they need to trick poor people to die for the empire. They need to trick poor people to becoming war criminals. And if you're not willing to become a war criminal for the U.S. empire, you go into debt. If you're not willing to kill Muslims, if you're not willing to engage in the ethnic cleansing of our enemies, you go into debt. And what's insane is the fact that a lot of these people are saying that quiet part out loud. So this is some capitalist fuck. Look at this guy. Don Bacon? Don Bacon. What a powerful name. So he has power. He's serving the great people. What's that, Nebraska District 2? So he's a politician. Look at this dude who says the quiet part out loud. This is the real reason why capitalists oppose student debt cancellation. My House colleagues and I are very concerned that the deeply flawed and unfair policy of blatant student loan forgiveness will also weaken our most powerful recruiting tool at the precise moment where we are experiencing a crisis in military recruitment. Bruh, you just said the quiet part out loud. So they are struggling with military recruitment for a lot of reasons. A lot of people don't want to die for this empire. Honestly, it's also because Americans are deeply unhealthy. I read a story a long time ago where they said a lot of Americans can't even pass the exam, so they lowered the entry level. So it's that. Also the fact that people don't want to serve this empire. There are a lot of reasons why people don't want to be they don't want to join the military. The people don't want to die for this stupid shit. We all know now that if you serve the military, you are not protecting freedom. And I know it hurts to say, if you died in the Iraq war, in the Afghanistan war, on the war on terror, or any war, it hurts to say, but you died for no reason. Sorry. I know that's painful. Everyone who died fighting the war on terror died for no reason. And people know that. I know it hurts to say, but we got to repeat it so we don't make the same mistake. And now more people know that. That's why people don't want to join the military. And they know if you take away the one benefit that people get from joining the military, they get free education, that shit is over. It's over. Give people free education. The military is over. No one is under the illusion anymore that they are serving and protecting and serving by joining the military. No one believes that shit. If you ask our Arbian sister Afeni, who served in the military, she was like, oh, well, you have to. Because if you want a better quality of life, if you want to go to education, if you want a better education, They call it the poverty draft. And they are just saying it out loud. And I have one more point I have to bring up on here because it shows how unhinged our society is. So they tell these people, if you go fight in our imperialist war, we will take care of you. They don't even do that. So U.S. veterans, 22 U.S. veterans kill themselves every day. Wait, let me see if I can find it. Let me see. 22 veterans a day. Yeah, it's that military suicide awareness. 22 veterans kill themselves every day because of the PTSD we put them through, the lie they are sold. A lot of them end up committing horrific acts and they can't live with themselves. They realize that they wasted a ton of their time. And you guys realize there's a new study that's out. What's up, CJ?
What's up?
There's a study that's out that's very interesting. So despite you have that 22 veterans that die per day. Now look at this, CJ. This came out 2 days ago. Study finds 37% greater veteran suicide rate than reported by the VA. So they was undercounting. That's how fucked our system is, guys. We
Right.
put people in debt and tell them you gotta go fight for us. We will take care of you. We got you, bro. Thank you for serving the empire. We got you. They get here and they realize, and I know because my dad was a veteran, he served in Korea, and he literally could not work for 2 years because he was disabled, and the VA fought him to death so he could get health care. He didn't get VA benefits for literally years because they were trying to disprove the fact that his boxing career was ended in his time in the service. They said, "Oh, you was a boxer, you was an athlete, you don't deserve this." So that happens all the time. The VA exists to deny benefits to people, and then a lot of people they get denied. They don't get the benefits they thought they was gonna get. They didn't join the military for the reason they thought they was gonna serve. And now studies show 37% greater veteran suicide rate.
That's crazy.
And I'm gonna just read the first paragraph here. That really is crazy. And I'm gonna explain. I have an ACAB philosophy. Well, I say fuck the police. And I'm gonna be honest, guys. I really don't have that same opinion with veterans because of the poverty draft. War criminals, they deserve all the hatred in the world. A lot of them that Trump pardoned, the people who commit atrocities in Iraq and Afghanistan, no love. We all should hate them. But a lot of people, they get tricked into this shit, guys. And if you're a cop, you can always leave. Like if you're a cop and you realize you signed up for something you didn't agree to, you can just say, "Oh, fuck this shit, I resign." If you get tricked to join the military, you can get dishonorably discharged and your life can be ruined. So at least I understand that, right? Maybe you guys disagree with me, but I sympathize with these people who are tricked by the poverty draft. So CJ, you want to chime in with that?
No, they create. Yeah, I do. I mean, they create the conditions where people think about our system, our military system. They create such poverty conditions that people are willing to turn the act or process of killing and looting resources on another, they to make that honorable.
Yeah.
They have to do that, Nick. They have to make it honorable. Otherwise, people are going to go kill people just so they can live. You see how they're pinning workers against other workers? You don't think that's workers versus workers? That's all they're doing. They're sending workers in these uniforms to go kill other workers in other countries.
Well said, CJ. I can wrap the segment there. I'm gonna pass it to CJ.
Yeah, I just wanted to,
because I'm glad we can do these pass off shows. It's fun. So CJ got a few more stories to share because I told him we recorded Bad Faith earlier. That's why we had scheduling delays.
Yeah,
that episode should drop Thursday. So I'm coming back to back from that, and
right.
I'm gonna do more calling later today. So I'm gonna get something to eat. I'm gonna pack myself up. I'll be back on later tonight, but I'll pass it to CJ.
I'm just gonna cover the why that we can't reform the Democratic Party. Yeah. The other story, it's an article I'm gonna cover. So
all right, cool. Make sure you get me on Callin if you have time tonight. The link is in the description. So take it over, CJ. Have a good one.
Absolutely. All right, so let's continue. It's not Tuesday, so let me take that down. But let's start here. Let's hit the like button. Let's hit the like button. Let's get our likes up. You know, I'm always on that. And maybe I'm the only one that's always on that. I'm probably just going to do one segment or maybe two. There might be two segments in me. I do have to take my daughter to volleyball practice. So it's still daytime over here in Cali, just so you know. All right, so we had 389 likes. That is fantastic. If we can push to 400, maybe 410, that'll be great. And then I'm going to throw some comments up here just to get started. Actually, let me do something else. So because I'm going to add Rockfin viewers, so I'm going to play a tape like it's the beginning of the stream. It's the beginning of the stream for them, but for those on Twitter and Facebook and Twitch and YouTube, I'm just gonna start with the video and then begin the next sort of episode, stream, segment, whatever you want to call it. So let's do that. I'm gonna bring up this Black Panther video. So this would have been the intro video for today. You've seen it many times, especially if you follow me on Twitter, because I post it maybe every 3 months or so. So we're gonna start here. I'm gonna add the Rockfin viewers, and then we'll get started. So give me like 20 seconds here to get to this next segment, and let's go.
Point program. Number one, we want freedom. We want the power to control the destiny of our black communities. Number two, we want full employment for our people. Number three, we want an end to the robbery by the white man of our black communities. Number four, we want decent housing fit to shelter human beings. Number five, we want education for our people that teaches us the true nature of this decadent American society. Education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present-day society.
What are we doing daily? Like I said before, we are organizing the community, going into different people's homes, you know, politically educating them, telling them exactly what is going on, not only here in Oakland, but in America and throughout the world. See, many black people are not aware of what is going on in America or what is going on in South Africa or over there in France, for instance. You know, we organize, since the black community is not a reading community, we talk to them, show them examples. In our paper, we have pictures, you know, so they can see what is going on. And then after they learn what is going on in the black community, then they can step forth and try to change themselves.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Number six, we want all black men to be exempt from military service.
I'm a draft consultant. We started the Black Draft Consultant Union because we realized the problem that black people are not aware of their rights under the draft law. We feel that black people should be exempt from the army because, like, they have nothing to fight for in Vietnam, nothing whatsoever. They go to Vietnam, they fight, they come back, and things are the same. They haven't gained anything.
Number seven, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. Number eight, we want all black people to be released from the many prisons, city, county, and state jails that they are now being held in.
This jail is composed of about 80% black, and I would guess that most of the blacks here are here because of political reasons, really, even though they don't even realize it.
Number nine, we want all black people, when brought to court, to be tried by a jury of their peers or people from their black communities as defined in the Constitution. Number 10, We want land, justice, housing, education, clothing.
Welcome back to those on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and welcome those on Rockfin, brand new to the audience. Actually, this stream has actually been going on, those on Rockfin, but we're just now bringing you in on the stream. So I just wanted to make sure you had the right introduction before we got started. So this is RBN Live, sort of a handoff stream. Nick kind of covered some of the story earlier, but I want to cover a couple of things. So I have something to add, 2 stories to add, or 2 articles to add. One of the articles goes to the story Nick covered, which is about Joe Biden being unhinged. There's an article that kind of comes with that I'm going to be covering. And then also I want to cover on the same website, the World Socialist website, an article called Why the Democratic Party Can Never Be Reformed. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Let's get started here. Actually, I want to jump right into this article. Oops, let's take that down and share something else here. So as Nick said, if you're wondering, like, weird situation today, we had a weird situation with the timing of the streams and everything. So it was my mistake. I had just saw a DM. I could put this article up as I'm waiting here. So I just saw a DM. This is the article. Today. So yesterday, what was yesterday? Sunday, I logged off of social media. Typically Sunday I log off a lot earlier. I don't even check back in. So I think I might have not. I think it might have been 6 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Stop checking, and a DM was sent. Bree sent the message to all of us, and I didn't see it until this morning. So when I saw it this morning, for whatever reason, I thought the message was from today, and it said something about Tuesday, tomorrow, or the next day, and I thought they had switched the interview for tomorrow. So I had made this whole stream that we were gonna do. We were going to do this stream. I just thought we were going to do it at 3 p.m. today. And Nick finally hit me up because he was like, no, Sabby said there was no mistake. It is today. So I had to rush and all that and had to switch the stream up. So that's why the stream is a little funny today. So just giving a little background. But let's jump into the article now. You heard Nick talk, for those that are not Rockfin listeners, you heard Nick talk about the unhinged 60 Minutes interview that Joe Biden gave, where he is basically calling for nuclear war with China and some other things. But you heard Nick kind of talk about that. Now, this article examines it from that perspective also. So let's read a little bit about what's happening here and what the so-called now this is harm reduction. So just keep that in mind. We're talking about the Joe Biden administration, which is harm reduction, is what they told us. So let's read. A staggering recklessness has overtaken the American ruling class. It is treating the prospects of nuclear war, which would mean the death of millions and the potential annihilation of life on the planet, as a real possibility that must not be allowed to detour its geopolitical objectives in waging war against Russia over Ukraine. This is where it refers to the article here. In an interview with CBS's 60 Minutes aired Sunday, U.S. President Joe Biden was asked by interviewer Scott Pelley, now I could be pronouncing it wrong, as Ukraine succeeds on the battlefield, Vladimir Putin is becoming embarrassed and pushed into a corner. And I, Mr. President, what would you say to him if he is considering using chemical weapons or tactical nuclear weapons? This is the question posed. To this, the president replied, don't. You will change the face of war unlike anything since World War III. The reference to World War III is, that's end quote, well, the reference to World War III is telling. Though Biden did not mention it, it was the United States that decried at the end of that war to drop 2 atomic bombs on Japan, killing more than 250,000 people. The U.S. remains the only country that has ever used nuclear weapons in war. So I'm going to pause there. So in this 60 Minutes interview, Joe Biden has no hesitation. And I love how it's framing. So understand that 60 Minutes is in on this bullshit. They're in on the war framing or the war type framing, the imperialist framing. Because you got on one hand, on one station, you got them praising the death of a monarch like she's a god when she's a despicable, disgusting person, part of a despicable imperialist empire. And then you turn on another station, you have 60 Minutes, where they're framing it as he's being brave or some sort of like it's a reaction. So CNN is in on it also. But I guess that's another story. Let's not derail the segment. So let's continue. Skipping over this historical fact. Okay, yeah. Skipping over this historical fact, Biden went on to make clear that the prospect of nuclear war would not alter the war aim of the United States. So the prospects, and I'm pausing there, so the prospects of the annihilation of human life will not alter the war aim of the United States, will not alter the greed of weapons manufacturers. That's translation. I just translated it for you. Winning the war, now this is another quote, winning the war in Ukraine is to get Russia out of Ukraine completely, he said. They're defending Russia. Russia's turning out not to be a competent and capable, as competent and not to be as competent and capable as many people thought they were going to be, end quote. And let's continue. By getting Russia out of Ukraine completely, Biden is referencing the Ukrainian goal of militarily taking Crimea, which Russia considers part of its territory, which, according to Russia doctrine, could be defended with nuclear weapons. Let me pause there. Now, the United States loves to say they're about peace and democracy, peace, and they're never, doing anything wrong. Why, if a nation that is about peace would be a nation that's trying to de-escalate, would be a government and a head of state that's trying to de-escalate, and that's simply not what we have here with the Biden administration. So those liberals, Jill is it Jill Biden or Joe Biden's wife, he may not be your first choice, but the lesser of two evils argument. You remember the reformist leftists? Oh, we have to vote for him because there's harm reduction. You couldn't write this better in a movie. Harm reduction. What is harm reduction about nuclear war? What is higher than nuclear war? This is literally the opposite of harm reduction. This is literally, quite literally, the opposite of harm reduction. We're at nuclear war here. Thank you for the super chat. Let me start that. Let me go through and make sure I don't have any others. But we're at the doorstep of nuclear war. So what are they talking about? Harm reduction. There is no higher harm to human existence than nuclear war. But we were told this is harm reduction, this choice. Man, it's terrible. Let me see, make sure I don't have any other super chats that I may have missed here. My bad. All right, so let's get to the super chat. Did I start it? Did I read it? 352. Okay, this is the one. All right, Jackson Hinkle and Jimmy Dore are talking about MAGA communism. Oh God, just giving me some more content. All right, so Jackson is for Trump election is going on QAnon. I think that's QAnon. Are you going to call this out? Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. This is content. So if he puts it up, because I'm not watching it live, and I don't know if you know Super Plano Man. I don't know if you know, like, you have to be watching Jimmy Dore's lives. You can't rewind, like wherever you get in, you can't rewind. You got to watch from there, and once you're out, that's it. And then they go private. So if he uploads it as a video, absolutely, I'm gonna cover that. So this is what. Never mind. I'll save my comments for that. But yeah, that would be lovely if they comment on that. And they upload. I hope they upload it soon, because there's a certain guest that's coming on that this would be perfect. They're coming on for something else, but that's something else will be pushed to the side if a video with Jimmy Dore and Jackson Hinkle talking about MAGA communism. So absolutely. Thank you for the super chat. Absolutely. And let's now get back to this article here. Okay, so here, let's reread this part here, or focus on this part. So, getting Russia out of Ukraine completely, Biden is referencing the Ukrainian goal of militarily retaking Crimea. That's the Ukrainian goal. So he's talking about that, getting them out of Crimea, which Russia considers of its territory, and which, according to Russian doctrine, could be defended. The territory can be defended by nuclear weapons. Now, let's let's add this other part, and you tell me this is not unhinged. So there's three major superpowers: Russia, China, and the United States we're talking about, all with nuclear arsenals, right? So one of them is essentially going, hey, picking on the other one, saying, hey, where's your nuclear shit? Bring it out. Let's see it. That's essentially what the United States is doing. And so let me bring in the China part. So what's happening with China over Taiwan? You think so? Joe Biden doesn't know the plans of China, and their plans with Taiwan, unifying Taiwan. They don't know about this. Like, they've known about this for years, but look at what the U.S. is doing: sending over delegates, sending over the corrupt Nancy Pelosi, the matriarch of the corruption in Washington D.C. Poking. What are they doing this? How is a responsible nation doing this? Poking other nuclear nations. And like, not more than poking. Like, you're threatening their sovereignty. All for what? What is the purpose? Because you're losing the grips? Your unipolar world is becoming multipolar, and a white nation, especially a white racist empire, cannot have that. This is completely unhinged. Completely. Let's continue. And then I also want to cover, I just thought of this, the railroad, because that's in the title. Just to give an update on that, I do want to, because I listened to Nick's stream. I didn't hear it in his stream, so I don't think he covered it. So, okay, so here we go. In fact, the U.S. goals go much further. In the wake of the collapse of the Russian forces in northern Ukraine, a mood of euphoria and triumphalism has taken hold in the U.S. political establishment. The American ruling class is determined to press the offensive. This was expressed in a front page article by New York Times national security reporter David Sauger, who serves as a semi-official conduit for statements by the U.S. military and intelligence apparatus. Under the headline, Ukraine, let me put this up. Under the headline, Ukraine wants the U.S. to send more powerful weapons. Biden is not so sure. Sauger and his 3 co-authors write this. Now, let me just make sure it's big enough for you to see, because this is crazy. And I think I'm going to end it here at the quote, this section here. American officials believe they have so far succeeded at boiling the frog, increasing their military intelligence and economic assistance to Ukraine step by step without provoking Moscow into large-scale retaliation with any major single move. That's what you see in these slow trickles of money. These slow trickles of money instead of this one lump sum large of money to sort of entice Russia to have larger reaction. It's a slow trickle of money. And let's continue with the quote. They say that Mr. Putin almost certainly would have pushed back hard if Washington had, at the outset of the war, provided Ukraine with the kind of support it is getting now, such as intelligence that has allowed Ukraine to kill Russian generals and target arms depots, tanks, and Russian air defense with precision-guided rocket attacks. So stayed out in the beginning, just all the while knowing we were going to provide all this support. The Times article is significant in a number of respects. First, it is another acknowledgement that the U.S. has been directing this war from the very beginning. Indeed, before the beginning, it provoked the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February by systematically arming Ukraine and encouraging its plans officially adopted last year to retake Crimea by military means. Like, this is like truly just insane. Hope my friend is doing well. Thank you for the super chat. Let me make sure I didn't miss any, because I was reading the article. I was not looking, but this is completely insane, in my opinion. Completely insane. It's just not the acts. It's just not the responses, the steps a nation that really believes in what it says it projects is really about. This completely sounds like a nation that's hell-bent on instigating things with nuclear powers. It's just insane. It's just insane. It's almost like the U.S. is saying, if we can't be a unipower world, we'll just kill everybody, including ourselves. That's what it feels like. So, but we're going to wrap the story here, the unhinged part of this stream about Joe Biden. Hit that like button. We're at about a 444 likes. If we can push to maybe 460 likes, if we can do that. Thank you, everybody. And let's now cover the next story here. And I just want to briefly read to you another article from the same website. It's actually a very resourceful website. I do recommend the World Socialist website. Check it out. So here is, I just want to give an update on the rail workers here. Now, there might be even an article since then. This article may be 17 hours old or something like that. What does it say on there? 18 hours, I believe. Yeah, 18 hours old. So there might be even an update even after this article here. But let's dive into the first maybe three paragraphs of this article and give you an update on what's happening with them. So let's go ahead and cover this one. Rail world railroad workers opposition builds to sell out deal to block national strike. Now, you heard the strike. You heard the news, tentative deal announced. There was never a deal. Actually, let me bring you that story first. So there was never a deal. Let me see if it's on the front page. I think it's on the front page here. Or how about we search? There was never a deal ever even established. So let's start there. Is this where my cursor is? Here. So let's go rail strike or a rail deal. Let's do that. And see what pops up here. Just so I can give you a little bit. That's a different one. Hang on, just so I can give you a real need support an entire working class. Statements issued. The president said we'll be calling it all workers struggle. Okay. Furious union revealed no. Okay, here we go. So they reported that there was a deal. So there's been 2 updates. If you don't know, you may be on this. So this is for those that may not be on top of all of these stories. So this one here, railroaders furious after union revealed that no tentative agreement exists despite sabotage of strike. So we like to announce tentative deal agreed upon between the union and the rail company. Complete lie. Completely made up. So let's dive into this article that covers it. Okay, so here we go. One day after leading Democratic politicians and the media announced that the tentative agreement had been reached between the 2 largest railroad workers unions, both unions acknowledged that no final tentative deal actually exists yet, and that the workers should not expect to view any details of the agreement for weeks. There is no deal. There was no deal. Oh, they just got to vote on it. This literally just to put it out there. Now, why would you say, do you think Joe Biden and the media didn't know that there was no deal? Have they printed retractions? Have they made it just as a large news story that there was actually no deal and wait, hold on, there's nothing to be voted on? Why would they do that? So let's continue with the story. In an 8-sentence statement released Friday afternoon, one of the unions, Smart TD, wrote that a number of posts purporting to reveal the finalized contents or finalized components of a TA have spread rapidly and are presented as factual. They are not. The statement adds, anyone who states that they have seen a final copy of the TA, have a copy of the final TA, or knows the final content of the agreement is not being truthful. The document, it continues. The document, it continues. There we go. The document, it continues, have not been fully reviewed by both parties, legal counsel, and have not been presented to the Smart TD District 1 General Chairperson, nor has it been distributed to officers or membership. The Smart TD statement added that factual information regarding the Phantom Agreement would be posted on their website sometime next week. As to when the full actual agreement would be posted for workers to review, the union did not say. So, had to kind of backtrack before we come back to the story we wanted to cover in this segment. Oh, let me go back one more time. Here we go, which is this one. So, add that in there. Tentative agreement made. Strikers or the ranking file has to just vote on it. Comes to find out there's actually no tentative deal actually made. Now we're here. railroad workers opposition bills to sellout deal to block national strike. And Nick also kind of covered a little bit of this, or talked about a little bit of this in a stream when he was like, the deal is a sellout deal, and he hoped that, like, the parameters of what was in the news, that even that part was a sellout deal. So let's read a little more of this article here. Opposition is continued to build among railroaders to Thursday's White House brokered sellout deal with the rail unions to avert a national strike. The deal resolves none of the workers' grievances and is essentially a rehash of the proposed contract terms from Biden's presidential emergency board, with only a single paid and 3 unpaid sick days a year's, up from 0. So what they did was they took the same deal, added a single paid in a year day off, and 3 unpaid sick days off a year. So now they have 4, 3 are unpaid in this deal. Okay? They tacked that on. In fact, union officials admitted last week that no formal agreement even exists. Oh, it looks like this is the hyperlink to that article I just read. Yet, and will not for several weeks, making a mockery of the principle of no contract, no work. Just, union leadership is not part of any movement or revolution that we're gonna have. They're the petty bourgeoisie. The deal is in violation of the overwhelming consensus of more than 100,000 railroaders for strike action to win a contract that meets their needs, expressed in a national online meeting Wednesday night of 500 workers sponsored by the Railroad Workers Rank and File Committee. So they basically put this whole show out to stop a strike, even though there's no deal made. That whole show about a tentative deal being made. The meeting passed a resolution warning the union that any attempt to force through contracts that we do not accept and that have not been voted on, or to keep us working without a contract, will be in violation of clear instructions given by the rank and file. That's laying down the gauntlet right here. I'm loving this union. I'm loving the rank and file, I should say. They're not fucking playing at all. Let me read that again. The meeting, let me say this again. So 100 railroaders for strike action to win a contract that meets their needs, expressed in a national online meeting Wednesday night. So this is a national online meeting sponsored by the Rank and File Committee. Okay, now in that meeting, the meeting passed a resolution warning the union. So they passed, the Rank and File passed this resolution warning. When they say the union, they're talking about leadership, warning the union that any attempt to force, this is a quote from there, any attempt to force through contracts that we do not accept, the Rank and File does not accept, and that have not been voted on, or to keep us working. So in the event that there is some sort of tentative deal that the Rank and File doesn't know about, that they're keeping secret, that only the labor leaders and the rail company know about, they're saying if there's something like some shenanigans like that have not been voted on, that's what they're referring to, or to keep us working, meaning they're just kind of dangling a nugget. Oh, we have a deal, but it's going to take several weeks to vote on, so that can work without a contract. So that attempt, so they're addressing all of that. Or to keep us working without a contract will be in violation of clear instructions given by the Rank and File. The Rank and File gave the leadership instructions. that's not to happen. And that's exactly what it sounds like they're doing. I'll pop some of your comments up. This is just fucking disgusting what they're doing to workers. So let's see. Yeah, I know. The leadership, not the members. So rank and file, and then there's the union. If there's ever a general strike, the GUB would be scheduling it. Bet. That's what he's saying. GUB is government. Government. That's funny. So all right, so let's continue with the article. Or actually, I think I'm finished up with this, or this might be the last part. Yeah, I think this might be the last sentence that I wanted to include. Let me make sure. Okay, no, this is it. This is the last one. So here he goes. The union hoped that the announcement of the deal would have, this is the leadership. The leadership hoped that the announcement of the deal would have led to the militant, determined mood among workers giving way to feelings of discouragement. This is not the case. Workers are furious at the betrayal and determined to resist. So more and more of the rank and file is growing opposition bills to the sellout deal. I mean, they really didn't add anything to that. 4 days off a year. 3 are paid, 1 is not. I'm sorry, 3 are not paid, and 1 is not. Just a terrible, terrible offer. All right, so there is one final segment now I do want to get to, and I will cut this, the railroad strike. And I know I had to add an I in there, but you get what I'm saying. The railroad strike, and will be a separate segment cut, and we'll upload that for those that want to see this separately and not watch the whole stream, because this is a longer stream today. And then the why the Democratic Party can never be reformed. We're going to cut that up separate too. But that is the next story. But while I'm bringing or changing, transitioning, please like the stream. Let me see where we're at as far as likes. I think we're shooting for 460. Our community is so great. I'm sure they surpassed that, because that's just what our community does. And they have. So 468. Excuse me, just like I thought. So let's see if we can get to 480. So about 12 more. Let's see if we can get to 480. Keep pushing those likes. So now we're going to move to why the Dem Party cannot be reformed. I was... oops. Now, on the same website, why the Dem Party cannot be reformed. So on this same website, there is another article that some of you, like I've read this article before. I thought it was good to revisit this article, because it kind of still pertains to what's happening now. So this is the article we're going to cover briefly in this short segment here. Why the Democratic Party can never be reformed. And I can't wait till you see the Bad Faith interview, because sort of this points come up about why can't the Democratic Party be reformed. Things get a little heated when we're talking about the professional managerial class and David Sirota in particular. So that is going to be a great interview. It's supposed to drop on Thursday, so make sure you check it out. Me, Sabby, and Nick, the 3 of us, with Brianna Joy Gray on the Bad Faith podcast. And then we should have a discussion on Thursday. So Thursday night is going to be fire. Or Thursday's going to be fire. Because we're going to have the interview. Then, of course, Nick and I are going to have to cover the interview at some point on Thursday. And then later that night, Brianna's Callin show, we're going to be joining her to talk about all of that. So Thursday, you do not want to miss the dropping that bad faith podcast. So what I like about Brianna is that she's not afraid, and it could be because she's Black. She grew up. Her mom is in the working class, so she it's kind of Black subculture. Where it's not taking offense when you're arguing passionately and talking loudly. It's not an offensive thing, and she doesn't take it. And I'm glad she doesn't, because we things get heated at some certain points, especially on our Callin. If you listen on her Callin show when I've been on there, and I was like telling her, man, I'm sorry. It seems like every time I come on the show, you and I are getting into a short little passionate discussion. So let's go with this article here. Now, this article is an older article, but we need to reread it and re-examine it because it's of course it's still ringing true even today. The Democratic Party ranks alongside the Tories in England as the oldest capitalist political party in the world. This decade, it will enter into its third century of existence, carrying behind it a record of great social crime. And I love the analogy it gives here, sort of the analogistic storytelling it gives right here. In its infancy, this was the party of Andrew Jackson and Indian removal. In its childhood, it fought a war for the expansion and then defense of slavery. In young adulthood was the violent suppression of the working class in the aftermath of the Civil War and a humanitarian cover for American imperialists' bloody appearance on the world stage. Entering maturity in the 20th century, the Democratic Party took the United States into two world wars, dropped two nuclear bombs, and waged neo-colonial wars in Korea and Vietnam. That is a mouthful, but I love the beautiful way it's told in a growing up, your infancy, then your childhood, then your young adulthood, then your adulthood, and now you're maturing. This is the story of the United States. The stories that they claim, CRT, don't mention these stories. We don't want white kids feeling bad about themselves. So I want to read this again and kind of take each one. In its infancy, in the beginning, this was the party of Andrew Jackson and Indian removal. The Democratic Party cannot be reformed. This is a party of 200 years of the same type of imperialist, destructive, suppressive, oppressive behavior. So for people like David Sirota who want to make it seem like we could change this. It's in their DNA. Can you change anybody's DNA? In its infancy, this was the party of Andrew Jackson and Indian removal. Now let's move on. In its childhood, I always have to make sure I pronounce that D. It fought a war for expansion It fought a war to expand. The Democratic Party fought a war to expand in the defense of slavery. The Democratic Party, its young adulthood was the violent suppression of workers' class, of the working class in the aftermath of civil war and the humanitarian cover for American imperialism bloody appearance on the world stage. So they suppressed all of that as a young adult. And now we're entering the maturity, the 20th century. The Democratic Party took the United States to 2 wars. The Democratic Party dropped 2 nuclear bombs and waged neocolonial wars in Korea and Vietnam. In the 21st century, it replaced social reform with identity politics, bailed out the banks, and destroyed large swaths of the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia. And we have the audacity to claim we're a Christian nation. Or maybe that's what Christianity does. Because you can have these stories about Christians and Christianity throughout history. Of people who claim to be about peace, claim to be about living a life as Jesus did. Jesus would be crucified by the Democratic Party if he was alive today. So let's continue with the article here, because to me it covers, and I'm glad it brings back. It feels like a new story, even though I read it before. It's been that long. In 2021, the DSA still argued that socialism can only come from within this capitalist party, Democratic Socialists of America. They say elect good Democrats, place good people in the cogs of this party's machinery, and all will be well. Apply enough pressure, and after 200 years, the Democrats will finally see the divine light. Does that even sound believable to anybody? But that's what we're being sold. And this is what part of the heated interaction Bree and I had. It's sort of on this point. Elect good Democrats, place good people in the cogs of this machinery, of the imperialist machinery, and all will be well. Somehow that's going to fix things. Somehow this terrible party of 200-year history, Nina Turner's going to fix that shit. Marianne Williamson's going to fix that. Even Bernie Sanders is going to fix that. It is absurd. It is absurd. The idea is absurd. Let's read a little more, because it's going to bring in David Sirota, I believe, and Jacobin. So let's do it. Or let's continue. I was just having flashbacks of what I was saying to Bree in that interview. Yeah. Jacobin, DSA, they're not going to like me. Not that they like me anyway. So let's continue. Anyone who still believes this myth should read Amy Parnes and Jonathan Allen's recent account of the 2020 election entitled Lucky, How Joe Biden Barely Won the Presidency. Lucky shows how the ruling class through the Democratic Party brings to bear 200 plus years of experience to accomplish its chief task, crushing left-wing opposition and ensuring that the interests of the working people have no impact whatsoever on state, foreign, or domestic policy. That's the Democratic Party that David Sirota is saying we can change, that he's been working on for several decades. and I forget the guy Zogby, the guy who was just on Bad Faith that Bree was interviewing, when he was talking about the dark money, how they refuse. I think he's on the committee, but how they refused to even take up a vote for dark money. And he was saying, "Oh, next time we're going to be prepared." And she was trying to get him to say, "Well, we need more than that." He just buying it. No, we just got to keep supporting. We can't walk away. We're walking away. We've walked away from the Democratic Party. The book is based on interviews with staff for the major Democratic primary campaign. So pop a handful of anti-nausea pills and take a peek behind the curtain. What makes Lucky remarkable is that its revealing character is entirely unintentional. Barnes and Allen are so complacent, unoriginal, and so deeply embedded in the malign of the Democratic Party politics that they fail to realize that their attempt to hagiograph is actually a devastating exposure. So I'm going to read the next couple of paragraphs and then we'll pause. So Barnes and Allen uncritically describe a party comprised of people who treat the coronavirus pandemic and the mass suffering it has unleashed with near total indifference. The authors quote Obama Biden confidant Anita Dunn, explaining that she told one associate that campaign officials believe but would never say in public about the disease effects on Biden's fortunes. COVID is the best thing that has ever happened to him. That's Anita Dunn. Sounds like something she would say. Similarly, the police killing of George Floyd is significant only in terms of its immediate impact on the campaign. And the same thing with Roe v. Wade. What did they say immediately after? Go vote. That's how you protect your right. Go vote. Police killings and violent protests drove a clear wedge between young black voters and the swing state whites, the author remarked. These are hyper pragmatists, uninterested in and incapable of looking past the end of the news cycle. It is taken for granted that nobody has any political principles whatsoever and that everyone will say anything to get elected. The only constant is the visceral hostility to socialism or anything that resemble left-wing politics, and that is such a great one-sentence description that describes what the Democratic Party is about. The only constant about the Democratic Party is their visceral hostility towards socialism and anything that resembles left-wing politics. Tell me that doesn't sum up the Democratic Party. So I'll go to your comments and then kind of sum it up here. I don't want to go too long after 2 hours, and we just hit 2 hours. So I'll go to a couple of comments. But what say all of you about why can't the Democratic Party? This article is saying the Democratic Party has a 200-year history. The Democratic Party, along with the Tories, is the oldest capitalist political party in existence. But David Sirota and left media, a lot of white left reformist professional managerial class want to get us to believe that's the best way to go. Crystal Ball in the interview with on Bad Faith podcast just recently. All of what's going on, this is the best avenue. And this is what I said on Bad Faith podcast. The framing of the Green Party and the third party It's so not the framing. We're allowing electoralists to frame the argument. It's, well, if there was a third party that was viable, you're comparing a 200-year-old party and their entrenched capital to a party that we're trying to upstart. So acting like they're going to have a presidential candidate it's just made up. You have to begin at the local level, but you have to disengage from red and blue first. You can't be in red and blue and also try to build up green. That you can't do both. But stop allowing the framing of this third party like we're supposed to have somebody that can win now in 4 years, in 2 years, this 2 to 4 year cycle of electoralism. Be like, no, push back on that. No. The Democratic Party had 200 years to get to this place. How about you give the Green Party 25 years? What's the difference in David Sirota spending 20 to 30 years, because he says this, his whole life, decades, trying to flip the Democratic Party? What could have been accomplished by you spending those same 20 to 30 years working on building up the Green Party? You see the unseriousness of the argument? So, yeah. Kyle, I literally saw that as dyslexia. I thought it was going to say Crystal Kalinsky. But that's a whole nother story, that whole relationship. I mean, like, why do we need to know that? Like, what's the purpose of us knowing that? Like, nobody follows you in your private life. I never seen an article about your private life. So if you were dating him, we literally wouldn't have known. You're not going to be on camera lovey-dovey with him. Like, that is a complete unnecessary detail. It's almost like they want you to invest in personalities. You see how Breaking Points is the same thing as corporate media? They want you to invest in personalities, irregardless of the crap that they're spewing. The war propaganda. Them telling us about their relationship and engagement and doing in video, they want you to invest in personalities, the storyline, the narrative, and not the substance. Love the community here. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the story at hand. I don't want to read. I'm trying to get. Okay, here we go. This is the part I want to get to. The authors of that article, we were talking about the Pele article, the article cites profound Democratic concerns over polls showing a majority of Iowa primary voters supported socialist policies. This became the fixation of the party. Now, this is the part I wanted to get to. Contrary to the strategy of the DSA, the more pressure from below, the more resolute the party became in efforts to crush the threat of socialism. Herein lies a fundamental lesson of Democratic Party politics. Pars, I'm assuming it's Barnes, but with a P. So Parnes and Allen write that the Democratic Party was actively considering supporting Trump if Sanders won the nomination. Many party leaders, they write, remember the Lincoln Project? How they were going to vote for Trump if Bernie? Remember, many people on MSNBC was allowed. This thought was allowed. Just amazing. Many party leaders, they wrote or they write, weren't sure what they would do if it came down to Trump and Sanders in a general election. Founded nor not, their fears are losing their party to socialism competed with their fears of Trump winning a second term. Listen to that. Their fears of losing their party to socialism. This is for the progressive Democrats to listen to. When we're talking about dark money, when we're talking about why the Democratic Party cannot be reformed, this sums it up right here. Their fears of losing their party to socialism competed with their fears of Trump winning a second term. You know, the Trump that's going to end our democracy as we know it? Ending our democracy as we know it and letting socialism take over, they're going, this is a hard decision. And we think, progressive Democrats think, we're going to take over the Democratic Party. Like that, they can be reformed. It's really silly. It's really silly to even think about. But I think I'm going to leave it there because it goes on. I feel like I'm going to keep going on, but I see AOC. I got to read this part. And I see Bernie Sanders' name. So I got to read this part. The ruling class has no fears of Sanders himself or of fellow DSA members like AOC or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, the author note, was interested in expanding her political turf beyond the boundaries of the hard left anyway. Democratic leadership knew these are team players with marching orders they will not disobey. They are not oppositional figures. They are part of the political establishment, and they play a political role in its defense. And they're talking about AOC, the progressives, the squads, Bernie Sanders. And that is spot on. And I think I'm going to end it there. I got to get prepared to take my daughter. She has volleyball. My daughters are tall. For women, they're tall. My wife is on the taller side. She's not taller than me, or she says she is, but long legs. So we're getting her in volleyball, tennis. Thought soccer. She's not that. My daughter is more of a cleaner sport, like tennis is her thing. Tennis, she could do tennis, and she likes volleyball too. So. All right, so I got to get ready to take her to that, but that's going to do it for this segment. This is a great article to revisit when we're talking about why the Democratic Party cannot be reformed. It's 200 years old. It is literally the oldest, along with the Tories, capitalist party in existence, and somehow we think we're going to flip it with AOC, refusing to be militant. It is absurd. It is absurd. Start using that in your debates with these liberals. Use the 200 years, because I haven't been using that. AOC is not far right. She's not far right. I don't. Oh, maybe that's a discussion you're having in the chat. Great show. Thanks. And here it goes. This is somebody who's responding to this. AOC is far right, not hard left. So that comment was responding to them. Reform the reformists. That's very funny. What democracy? Great point. I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave everyone, or leave this stream, or end this stream with a closeout video. There was another one I posted today. This one is from Martin Luther King. I'm going to post. But before I do that, there is a couple of things. So I'm not quite done yet. Oops, I'm trying to pause this. All right, so I'm not quite done quite yet. Let's pause, or let's take that down, and let's put up the video I'll play at least, and have it queued up for when it's ready or it's time. And so let's go ahead and hit that like button, please. One last time during this stream. Thank you for watching. It actually ends up being, even though it's a handoff stream, it ends up being roughly about the same amount of time that of our typical streams, a little past 2 hours. So we're at 500 likes. I could not ask for more. So if you're willing to put more likes up, please do. But 500 is perfect. I don't need to even ask for more. But we're at a 502 likes. So that is a great number to have. If you're willing to give more likes, please do. If you want to be notified of streams like this one, make sure you join our Substack. Do I not have our Substack on here? Let me go slow here. Sometimes I move too fast. So maybe I don't. So maybe I don't have our Substack. So let me see if I can switch this here. So this is, oh yeah, it's not here. It's on here. So the color may change or may not. So here is our Substack. So subscribe to our Substack if you want to get notifications of this. It's simply when you go to that website there, you just enter your, I think, name and email address, and then that's it. You're on the list. Tomorrow you'll get a notification when we send out a notification for tomorrow's stream, which is RBN Live. That's with everybody at the round table. We'll see who's able to attend. Everybody tries to attend as much as they can. So we shall see if we're able to do that. Let me see. There's something else I wanted to post here. Earlier we were at 22,241 subscribers. So thank you. Keep pushing us. We want to reach 30,000 by the end of the year. So that's what, December, November, October. It's a little over 3 months, 3.5 months. We can do it with all of your help. So let's push for that. And where was I? Let's go back here. All right. So JB's fundraiser. Let's put it on the screen. Let's stop it from scrolling. Put it on the screen. JB's fundraiser here. $5,000 is what we're shooting for JB's housing. Let me put the graphic up actually, so you can check it out. There is a graphic. Isn't there a graphic? Yeah. So I'll just do this. Can I share this without? Let's share. Can I just share my table? Oh, window. No. Entire screen. No. How about? Okay, I found it. All right, so here is the item. JB. So, fundraising 5K is the goal. Yesterday's total. Now we have more than this, but the last total was early yesterday, 1,300. I know we received at least another 300 since then. So let's just say we're at 1,600 now. The ultimate goal is 5,000. This is for his housing. He lives in Florida. Florida is the top 3 states that where the housing costs have skyrocketed. He has dialysis 4 times or 3 times a week, so his ability to work is limited because of that disability. He gets money, he gets welfare, all of which is just not enough. More than 80% of his disability check goes to rent. His mom, who's also, I believe he says, disabled, lives with him, so he kind of takes care of her also. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to help out our comrade. Now, some people are saying the Venmo that says mutual aid forever is hard for them to find unless they're online. So here's that remedy. You can also, it's the same account, Forever Mutual Aid on Venmo. It goes to the same account. So when you open up a business account, you have to have the business version, and then you have to have a personal attached. So one is the personal and one is the business. It's attached to the same account though. So Mutual Aid Forever or Forever Mutual Aid. Maybe the Forever Mutual Aid is the one that will pop up. But if you're able to contribute, Cash App is also Mutual Aid. That works fine on Cash App. So Mutual Aid Forever. And I think I'm going to end there, but 5,000 is the goal for JB. So if you're able to assist, please do. If you're, let's do the summit. We're going to be doing a summit October 22nd and 23rd, Saturday and Sunday, October 22nd and 23rd. If you're an activist and want to be a part of that summit, email us. And in the subject line, put Activist Summit. That's all I got for everybody today. So let's share the other screen with the video. Martin Luther King is going to take us out on this stream. Go over and watch Sabby's stream. Okay, go over and watch Sabby's stream after this. And this is going to take us out. I will not be returning after the stream. Have a great rest of your what is this? Monday. And look for that Bad Faith interview on Thursday. We'll be back for RBN Live tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Here is MLK.
We read one day, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if a man doesn't have a job or an income, he has neither life nor liberty and the possibility for the pursuit of happiness. He merely exists. Estimated that we spend $322,000 for each enemy we kill in Vietnam, while we spend in the so-called war on poverty in America only about $53 for each person classified as poor. The promises of the Great Society have been shot down on the battlefield of Vietnam, making the poor, white and Negro, bear the heaviest burdens both at the front and at home. The other thing I want you to understand is this, that it didn't cost the nation one penny to integrate lunch counters. It didn't cost the nation one penny to guarantee the right to vote. But now we are dealing with issues that cannot be solved without the nation spending billions of dollars and undergoing a radical redistribution of economic power. Yeah.